Which U.S. president loved jelly beans? The answer is Ronald Reagan. Reagan kept jars of jelly beans in the Oval Office and often shared them with visitors. Which U.S. president had the nickname Old Hickory? The answer is Andrew Jackson. Soldiers gave Jackson the nickname Old Hickory because they believed he was as tough as hickory wood. Which U.S. president had a daughter who became known as America's Princess? The answer is Theodore Roosevelt. Alice Roosevelt was one of the most famous first daughters in American history because of her lively personality. Which U.S. president was the first left-handed president of the modern television era? The answer is Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford was left-handed, and several presidents after him, including Reagan, George H. W. Bush, Clinton, and Obama, were also left-handed. Which U.S. president was nicknamed Silent Cal? The answer is Calvin Coolidge. Coolidge was famous for speaking very little. When someone bet they could get him to say more than 2 words, he simply replied, "You lose." Which U.S. president was the first to appear on television? The answer is Franklin D. Roosevelt. FDR became the first U.S. president to appear on television during the 1939 New York World's Fair. Which U.S. president holds the most patents? The answer is Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln is the only U.S. president to hold a U.S. patent. His invention helped lift boats over shallow waters. Which U.S. president was a professional tailor before entering politics? The answer is Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson learned tailoring as a teenager and opened his own tailor shop before becoming president. Which U.S. president was born on the 4th of July? The answer is Calvin Coolidge. Coolidge is the only U.S. president born on July 4th, America's Independence Day. Which U.S. president got stuck in a White House bathtub? The answer is William Howard Taft. According to a famous story, Taft became stuck in a White House bathtub, leading to the installation of a much larger tub. Which U.S. president spoke English as a second language? The answer is Martin Van Buren. Martin Van Buren grew up speaking Dutch, making him the only U.S. president whose first language was not English. Which U.S. president kept more pets than almost any other? The answer is Theodore Roosevelt. Roosevelt's family had dozens of pets, including dogs, cats, snakes, guinea pigs, birds, and even a badger. Which U.S. president had a famous pet dog named Fala? The answer is Franklin D. Roosevelt. Fala became one of the most famous presidential pets and even has a statue in Washington, D.C. Which U.S. president was a champion wrestler? The answer is Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln is believed to have lost only one wrestling match out of around 300 contests. Which U.S. president signed official documents with a green pen? Dwight D. Eisenhower. Eisenhower preferred using green ink for many of his signatures, making it one of his personal trademarks. Which U.S. president gave the longest inaugural speech? The answer is William Henry Harrison. His inauguration speech lasted nearly 2 hours in freezing weather. He caught pneumonia and died just 31 days later, the shortest presidency in U.S. history. Which U.S. president had a pet hippopotamus? The answer is Calvin Coolidge. A pygmy hippopotamus named Billy was sent to President Coolidge as a gift from Liberia. Which U.S. president survived an assassination attempt and continued his speech? The answer is Theodore Roosevelt. After being shot in 1912, Roosevelt still delivered a speech that lasted about 90 minutes before going to the hospital. Which U.S. president was a licensed peanut farmer? The answer is Jimmy Carter. Before entering politics, Jimmy Carter ran his family's peanut farm in Georgia. Which U.S. president installed the first movie theater in the White House? The answer is Franklin D. Roosevelt. FDR had a movie theater installed so he could watch films and newsreels at the White House. Which U.S. president never lived in the White House? The answer is George Washington. George Washington chose the location of the White House, but it wasn't finished before he left office. Which U.S. president was elected 4 times? The answer is Franklin D. Roosevelt. He is the only U.S. president ever elected to 4 terms. Which U.S. president was a Hollywood actor before entering politics? The answer is Ronald Reagan. Reagan appeared in more than 50 Hollywood films before becoming president. Which U.S. president won the Nobel Peace Prize? The answer is Theodore Roosevelt. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1906 for helping end the Russo-Japanese War. Which U.S. president was the first to fly in an airplane? The answer is Theodore Roosevelt. He flew in 1910, only a few years after the Wright brothers' first flight. Which U.S. president was the tallest? The answer is Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln was about 6 feet 4 inches, 193 centimeters, tall. Which U.S. president later became Chief Justice of the Supreme Court? The answer is William Howard Taft. Taft is the only person in U.S. history to serve as both President and Chief Justice. Which U.S. president reportedly kept a pet alligator at the White House? The answer is John Quincy Adams. The alligator was reportedly a gift from the Marquis de Lafayette and was kept temporarily in a White House bathroom. Which U.S. president was born in Hawaii? The answer is Barack Obama. Obama is the only U.S. president born in the state of Hawaii. Which U.S. president became the youngest president in U.S. history? The answer is Theodore Roosevelt. Roosevelt was just 42 years old when he became president after William McKinley's assassination.